So this is it, track Madone 9 after 4,000 kilometers in. Long-term review. Let's start at the front. One of the features of this bike is the integrated bar, as on many aero bikes nowadays. It has the Bontraga compact drop, which is really comfortable. I think one of the best bars and shapes on the market. They're good for braking, shifting in both positions. It's also quite good to hold on the tops, but I don't really use that. One tip I would give to anyone who's looking into this bike is to wrap the bar tape the other way around from the top, because if I start from the bottom, end up here with having some finishing tape here, which when you're holding the bar, mainly in hot weather, you start to melt the glue with your hands and the tapes just start to slip and you get glue all over this place. So it's best to start here with a good tight wrap so it doesn't move, and work the way around the bottom. It's a bit of a different technique, but I'll show you that in my videos once. The bar itself, it's maybe not the stiffest. It has good comfort, stiff enough for me. But if you're wrenching hard on it, you can see a bit of give. It has this camtail virtual foil. One thing I don't like about the bar is, well, it has a really nice glossy finish, but this finish goes all the way to the bottom, and if you don't tighten the levers really hard, then they slip quite easily. So you need to put a lot of torque in the bolt and the clamp here, otherwise it will just slip down. I had a moment where I was on the hoods, wanted the hole slipped, and the lever slipped so much that actually disconnected my shifting. So it's worth bearing in mind. Maybe you should roughen up this area, the sandpaper or something like that. The stem itself is very beefy, also aero profile. You can also cut down the fork so the top cap sits into this groove here in the stem, but I didn't commit to it yet. It will look much sleeker definitely, so maybe one day. Another feature, integrated brakes with these vector wings, so it allows for the brake hidden inside here to tilt outwards, so that you save a lot of frontal area. And the head tube is a really nice sleek profile, but not extremely narrow like in a specialized Venge, giant proper or something like that. So you still have that massive camtail tube section, so the bike handles extremely well, really stiff, real precise handling. Also the fork, really beefy camtail profile, but still a bit of compliance there. Actually don't really feel it's an aero bike from the handling. You can't feel any twisting or discomfort. It's stiff where it needs to be. If you look at this massive down tube, it has an aero profile, truncated foil, but it's huge actually. It's one of the biggest I've seen, but it's not extremely narrow like on some other bikes. So that makes for excellent stiffness, even in climbing. Then what you have here is the door for the Di2 junction box. Underneath there, inside, you have the battery. If you are starting this bike build from scratch, keep in mind you'll need a 5-port junction box for this bike. So you have no junction box here. You just have cables all the way up here, both from both max and the seat. Well, actually there's no battery in the seat post. So from the both max right up here and also through the bar. The routing is quite neat. Probably the hardest part is routing the wires through the bars and then through this integrated area. We have basically grooves on both sides of the steerer, so it's not very simple, but the manual shows it really nicely in great detail, so that shouldn't be a problem. But electronic drivetrains are preferable on bikes like these because there's much less hassle with them. Okay, so moving on to the bottom bracket area. Again, you can see it's absolutely huge, no give whatsoever right there. Bear in mind this is the OCLV 700 carbon H1 geometry short top tube. This is the race version, the same as the team rides. I recommend this frame unless you want a really relaxed position. It also looks nice. The tall head tube, the sloping down tube. These arrow shapes look quite silly, I think. So then, bottom bracket, standard track fare BB90. It's basically just two bearings directly into the carbon frame. No inserts, no cups, no creaking. What I don't like about this is that there's no way it accepts 30mm axle spindles, so the compatibility is limited there, but otherwise working nicely. Then what we have here is a chain catcher, which is specific for this bike, which I think it's a must when you race. There's no way you can overshift your chain to damage the frame and to lose precious time. And you also don't need some cheap aftermarket things. It's also optimized for drag, so that's the level of air optimization on this bike. Then if you look at the seat post, you can see here is the ISO-speed decoupler, which is basically a tube within a tube design, so it can flex. It's an actual mechanical hinge, so there are the tubes and this part of the frame are not bonded permanently, only by this pivot, so this whole seat mass can bounce front to back, and it really works. This is a bike that doesn't beat you up at all. It still has some nice feedback as you'd expect from a race bike, but it's really comfortable. More comfortable than some traditional round tube bikes actually, more comfortable than most of them. You can adjust the seat post by this. Basically it's not a wedge system, but it's a clamp that goes over this hollowed out area in the frame. For me it's all the way slammed to the bottom. I run 72 centimeters saddle height, so I will probably need or I could get away with the shorter seat post. With a seat post like this you also have limited compatibility, but the light the Trex makes for this bike is excellent. It's probably one of the brightest, best lights. It's the Flare R, so no real drawback there. Same goes for the front. There you have different options in terms of mounts. This is just a single mount for the Garmin, but you can have a double, this is basically a GoPro style standard mount, and there's one included in the bike that has two of these perches, so you can put your Garmin and your light, your Garmin and your camera and so on. So lots of options. The saddle I use is the Serrano RXL. I think it's discontinued now, but it's a good match for this bike because it's really comfortable in the aggressive position this geometry dictates. If you go back to the chainstays, again quite boxy. One problem I have here with this bike is that when you are in the harder gears at the back, the chain is really quite close to the frame, and that's causing some noise and rough terrain. You also have the dual trap here, but I think I'll just dismount that. I don't really use it because I have a power meter, cadence, and GPS for speed. The integrated brake also in the rear. The front and rear are basically the same design, same adjustments, quite easy to adjust, really powerful, good modulation. So I think one of the best integrated brakes so far I've tried. No complaints there. One slight niggle in the seat post. They've changed the clamping design, so now it has a bolt through here and one from the bottom, so you adjust the tilt with this one and you tighten the rails like this, like the old version. I had a bit of problem with slippage if I tighten it to the specified torque, so I had to put some fiber grip in there. So overall, get back. This is the Madone 9, really aggressive, really racy bike. They call it an aero bike, but I think that's not really the case, because aero bikes usually are limited in some way. I would rather call this a proper race bike, classic race bike for, well, basically all around use. But it also has a huge aero benefit. But the handling is excellent. There's no way you could distinguish it from the Amanda. There is some weight penalty, around 450 grams for the same setup, but since there is a UCI weight regulation, I think that's not really the case. Weight doesn't really matter as long as you are taking speed in the real world, and the watt savings are huge. For me, as a 60 kilo climber, it makes it a lot easier to stay in the pack, to get moving with the bunch, and then I've got a lot of energy left still when the climbs hit. And climbing itself on this bike, I would probably say it has 99.5% of the Amanda's capability. It has the same stiffness, same handling, same responsiveness, but more comfort. So you save energy from the aero benefit, and it also keeps you fresher, less fatigued. So overall, as a bike, I think it's probably on top of the market today. I can't think of any competitor that could blend all these features in one. So it's a pure technical statement, but it rides as well as it should, based on its price and its looks. Thanks for watching. Keep tuned for my channel. Thanks.